You know, having a crush on a guy isn't easy. You wake up in the morning and there he is, on your mind, first thing. You think about him on the way to work or on your way to school. You think about him every time you see something that even reminds you of him. This infatuation feels like a 24/7 job sometimes, doesn't it? It doesn't even matter if you're together or not. In fact, it would be fantastic if you were together, but being apart is just driving you crazy. Well, today we're talking about 3 reasons why you can't stop thinking about him. That's right, you can't get this guy out of your head. He's like this song that just keeps repeating over and over and over. That's right, you're being rickrolled in your own thoughts. You might not even really know much about this guy, which makes it all that much more crazy in your head, right? You feel like it's just this strange fixation you've got. You can be any age, any place in your life, and a guy can just knock you on your butt. I know married couples that each have a crush going on, and their relationship is great. And yes, the crush is with other people. So what gives? What is it? Why can't you stop thinking about him? Well, first you got to recognize that this is a necessary biological thing. We actually hunger for this feeling in our life. And when we don't have it, we start to think something is wrong, which is also another reason that people look outside of their primary relationship. We're looking for that surge of wild, frenetic energy, that love craziness that hits us because it feels good in a very strangely psychotic sort of way. I mean, why is it? Why can't you stop thinking about this guy? And what is it going to take to get your life back under control? Well, your first step should be to ask yourself what it is that you find so attractive about this guy. What is it? Why is he on your thoughts so much? Is it a chemistry thing or is it something else? The best thing you can do is to whip out that pencil of yours and your journal and work out what it is that you find so irresistible about this guy, all right? Make a list of all the things that come up in your mind. Is it his physicality? Is it the way he talks to you? Is it a certain feeling he evokes in you? Okay, that's really important too because that's always in the equation. He's making you feel a certain way, which is why you feel that way about him. We often think that it's the other person we're in love with. What we're really in love with is the way that person makes us feel inside. Okay, now the second thing to do is look at yourself and how you view your status next to this guy. If you think for a moment that he is better than you or you don't measure up in some way, well, you got to take a look at that. This is really important. This is one of the reasons we often fall into infatuated cycles with another person, is we believe that the other person somehow has an elevated value, and if we can get them, if we can acquire them, we would somehow be improved in some way. Our life would be more complete. We'd be richer in a lot of ways. Keep things in perspective when it comes to your situation. You probably feel inferior in some ways and maybe even intimidated, but don't go there. As the saying goes, no matter how gorgeous and fantastic you think this guy is, there is somebody out there that is tired of his crap. Keep this guy in perspective. But as it happens, there is a reason why this guy is on your mind so much. It comes down to some physical and psychological science. Let's dig right in with 3 reasons that you can't stop thinking about him. He's on your mind and in your thoughts. Reason number 1, your brain has been reprogrammed. There's a part of your brain called the reticular activating system. Okay, it's the RAS for short. It's a small bundle of nerves. It's basically the traffic cop of your brain. It's way down at the bottom of your brain, and it steers and directs and guides all your thinking. You ever buy a car and then you suddenly see that car everywhere? Or maybe it's a pair of shoes or a purse or something, but whatever it is, the effect is still the same. What happened? Why do you see this everywhere all of a sudden? Or somebody maybe tells you about some concept or tells you about a book and suddenly you see people reading that book everywhere. What is it that happened? Well, your brain got reprogrammed. And it's really your RAS, your reticular activating system. Your RAS basically got reprogrammed. And now it's telling your mind what's important to you. And it's pointing out all these things in your environment. Suddenly that part of your brain is aware of that book or that car or whatever it is. Your RAS is also connected to a phenomenon called, get this one, you're going to love this, the Bader-Meinhof syndrome. Doesn't that just sound really incredibly cool? It's also called the frequency illusion. I know it's less sexy, but it's actually a closer match to what's going on. Bader-Meinhof, or the frequency illusion, is the phenomenon where one happens upon some obscure piece of information, often an unfamiliar word or a name, and soon afterwards you encounter the same subject again and again, usually repeatedly. It might even seem like some sort of coincidence is going on, or even some kind of cosmic signal. But you know what? It's not. It's just your brain bending your reality. Again, if you've been reading any of my stuff or if you've got any of my programs, you know how much your brain works and how hard it works to distort your perception of the world. It's really amazing. It happens more than we think, and you have to be on the lookout. And that's one of the big reasons that a guy is going to stick in your thoughts like a catchy song from the 1980s. So watch out that you don't fall for the trickery of the mind. Why can't I stop thinking about this guy? Reason number 2, your hormones are on fire. Well, not literally or anything, but your brain is dumping chemical after chemical into your system, and it's making you more suggestible and on edge. Here's a short list of the chemicals that are at work in your brain. Adrenaline, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, vasopressin. All right? You've got a virtual cocktail of hormones that are raging through your brain when you get infatuated with a guy. And it creates a whole new reality where you can't stop thinking about this other person. Why can't I get him out of my head? Reason number 3, suppression makes it worse. So by now you're probably wondering how this emotional obsession switch works, right? Well, for you to understand how it works, let's do a quick experiment here. For the next 5 seconds, close your eyes and do not think about a purple unicorn. Don't think about it, and don't let the image into your mind. Okay, now if you're like most people, you couldn't help yourself there. The second I said purple unicorn, you saw that purple unicorn, whether you wanted to or not. Trying to suppress a thought just makes things worse. Telling yourself to stop thinking about this guy is only going to reinforce the fact that you keep thinking about him. It's enough to drive you crazy, isn't it? Darned if you do and darned if you don't. Trying to suppress a thought just makes things worse. Trying to suppress such thoughts can even lead that person to appear in your dreams. It's called the rebound effect. Now, the key to overcoming this is, well, if that's something you want to do, it's to redirect your thinking, not to try and stop it. Instead of indulging and ruminating about them endlessly, you need to steer those thoughts towards something else, something less glowing and romantic. For example, focus on the natural emotion. Focus on the natural evolution, the emotional evolution that you go through with your relationships. Infatuation always leads to what? Eventually love. And then love leads to what? A warm, comfortable place. Well, usually. And then where does that lead you to? What? Yeah, it's reality. Reality sets in and you realize that no matter what you thought going in, there's a relationship you need to work on here. And his flaws will always come out. They always come out, eventually, which is both kind of a buzzkill and a blessed relief. I mean, if you were to live your life in infatuation, you'd go right straight out of your mind. So stay grounded and stay real. Don't go thinking into the future either. No indulging in fantasies of marriage or happily ever after. Stay out of that zone for your own good. Far better is to stay grounded in reality. Your neural circuits, your brain, your RAS, all that stuff will be primed to think about your love interest simply from being awash in all those love chemicals. So always remember that your mind is working to reinforce this guy, this love interest in your thoughts. And every time you think about him, you're going to make this guy your overwhelming focus. Now, the cycle will keep going all on its own. And ultimately, you got to ask yourself, why don't you just go for it? Why not just ask him out? Let the chips fall where they may. Okay, I'll tell you what to do next to get this ball rolling. Step number 1 is, first of all, figure out where you're feeling an emptiness in your life right now. This is where you feel unfulfilled. And it's also very likely why you've got a crush on this guy. Maybe it's one of the reasons on your list that you wrote down. If it's just a hole in your heart, well, then figure out if he's really a good fit for you. Or if it's just a case of overwhelming chemistry. Okay, step number 2, be careful you don't start overvaluing him too soon. Step 2, be careful you don't start overvaluing this guy too soon. He's just a guy. Really, he is. If you've had boyfriends before him, then you know what I'm talking about. He probably won't be the end of the line. You may have thought your previous boyfriends were all the end of the line. This is the one, right? But they weren't. And there's a reason why. Your brain was being what? Tricked. So remember, he's just a guy. And if you start chasing him in your mind before you've even gotten a date with him, you're going to be in the worst possible position to get him to fall for you. Make sure you keep an eye out for red flags and other behavioral signs that suggest he might not be the best match for you. All right, you got to keep those love goggles off for a little while. And some of those red flags include things like, not being so nice to the service staff, flipping out over small things, little stuff like that. Watch out for those red flags. Step number 3, get out there and meet some other guys. The last thing you want to do is leave yourself completely vulnerable to this dude, only to get crushed if he doesn't return the interest in you. Make sure you've got your own social and romantic calendar balanced with other possibilities. There are many reasons why, and I reveal more of this to you in my program, The Connection Code. But the fact is, you just got to get out from under the spell he's got you in eventually, all right? So it's either give up on him, and I say don't unless you think he's bad news, okay? Or move in on him if he's unaware, and this is an option, or get on his radar really, really soon. Of course, if you want the simple, short formula for true love, here you go. Find a complete stranger. Reveal to each other intimate details about your lives for about a half an hour. Then stare deeply into each other's eyes without talking for 4 straight minutes. What? Am I pulling your leg? Nope. York psychologist Professor Arthur Arun actually experimented doing this exact same formula in the lab. And you know what? It worked so well that after 34 minutes, that's right, several test subjects started dating and one couple got married. But how do you know how to do this the right way? Well, first of all, don't find a stranger. You don't want to wind up married to a weirdo. But second, you got to know what to reveal to him that's intimate, that works. And third, you got to know how to get him to open up and reveal his intimate details. After that, the rest comes easy. It's an easy equation to get a guy to fall in love with you. And if you want to know what will create this unbreakable connection with the man you want, I suggest you go right on over to datingadviceguru.com/connection code. That's datingadviceguru.com/connection code, where I give you exactly what you need to do and what you need to say to get a guy to connect with you intimately. That's right, not just talk about in bed. He will actually tell you how he feels, what he thinks, and you will be able to match his connection style, because there's 5 different connection styles for guys. And if you don't know what they are, well, you could seriously risk scaring off the guy that's meant for you. Get on over there, girl. What's the matter with you? If you're just passively listening to these podcasts, great. Some of it might sink in. But if you flip the tables and get proactive with this stuff, if you actually start doing some of the things that I teach you, you will get results. I guarantee it. Every single woman who does. All right? Get over there and get active. Go on over to datingadviceguru.com. Take control of your love life. Take control of your relationship and have the kind of relationship you want. You want him to marry you? He will. You want him to love you? He will. datingadviceguru.com/connection code. This is Carlos Cavallo from where else? That's right. That place with the advice you need. datingadviceguru.com. I'll be talking to you again next time. This is Carlos. As always, live and love with passion.
datingadviceguru.com, the Dating Advice Guru podcast and YouTube content, and all content herein is copyright Morpheus Productions, LLC. Feel free to contact Carlos at www.datingadviceguru.com, on the forum, or click the Ask Carlos link on the site. We welcome your comments and questions.